Support for this episode comes from Modern Football Technology. Modern Football Technology provides real-time opponent tendencies and self-scout while eliminating manual data entry into Huddle, DV Sport, and Exos. If you're tired of tools that are time-consuming to learn and perform inconsistently at best, then we recommend Modern Football for a fresh perspective. Schedule a demo today at teammofo.com to see a battle-tested tool that's proven to perform and deliver value. Mention Coach and Coordinator Podcast or use the coupon code CC10 to receive 10% off your first year. And listen to our recent episode featuring Folsom High School defensive coordinator Jordan Ersick to learn more about how the 2023 California State Champion uses modern football to dominate their opponents.
First, for us, to me, it's two things. One, I want to make life as easy as possible for the quarterback, and I want to have a safe place to go as a play caller. So 1st and 10, after and chief first down, 2nd and 5, and I'm on schedule. In my mind, it's a great place to have these one-word drop back concepts. As I got into Arizona, defense has gotten better and better. Drop back is really hard to protect. But if I do it fast, I think, hey, it's less chance that I'm getting exotic pressures. More chance they're lining up to me than worried about, bringing something that I can't handle.
We're back with another episode of the Passing Lab with our host, Josh Herring. We got another good one here today with a high school coach from Arizona. So, Josh, tell us about our...
Well, it's Colin Thomas, who's the head coach at Liberty High in Peoria, Arizona. He was a state championship winning OC there. Now he's the head coach. It's a really big-time program in Arizona, and Colin is just a fantastic passing game mind. The scope of his knowledge on the passing game is really broad, and I just really enjoy talking ball with him.
And I know in this one you're going to get into a lot of the concepts right away, but Coach also shares some great thought processes that he has, both for how he approaches and learning this game and researching it, as well as with what he does with some things procedurally. Yeah,
he's awesome at all that stuff, and his research methods, kind of how he goes about studying teams, is second to none, and I've always gotten a lot out of him every offseason.
So here's our Passing Lab episode with Colin Thomas. What you see on tape is a direct reflection of what you teach and how you teach. Video is important, but if you don't teach well, you're not going to like what you see on your video. First Down Playbook has been helping coaches teach better for 13 years. It allows you to present installs, playbooks, and practice cards in half the time with NFL quality. Coaching tools like video pairing, a player app, practice schedules, and wristband sheets have made First Down Playbook a program management system with everything in one place. If you're in a position of leadership with your football program, receive a free 1-week look at First Down Playbook. Call them at 512-814-6158 or visit them on their website or social media. Mention Coach and Coordinator Podcast or use the coupon code COACH24 to receive a $100 discount off the normal $700 First Down Playbook team membership price. Links and the phone number are in the show notes.
All right, I want to welcome everybody to the Passing Lab for another episode. I'm super excited about this one. We're heading out west to the great state of Arizona today. So we've got Colin Thomas with us, who's the head coach at Liberty High in Peoria, Arizona, one of the best programs in Arizona. I've known Coach for a while. He was the Arizona Cardinals 2022 Coach of the Year. Had one loss last season. They've been ultra successful. I think they were like number 57 in America in the High School Football America ranking. So that's pretty strong, Coach, for sure. Coach Thomas is one of the best passing game minds I know. And I've been thinking since we started this about, hey, we got to get him on the show. And we sort of do every year kind of have a post-mortem on the season where we talk about different things and kind of exchange ideas. So, Coach, super excited to have you on the show.
Yes, sir, Coach. Thanks so much and happy to be here.
Let's get right into kind of your influences. So I know in talking to you kind of over the years, you got kind of far-flung influences, different guys, and you kind of take stuff from everywhere and do a great job of research. So kind of talk to us in the development of you guys, your passing game at Liberty. Like, what have been some key influences or people that you've learned from and kind of things that you've taken and kind of morphed it into your own system?
Yes, so I started coaching in 2007 and wanted to be a spread guy and a pass guy and didn't really have a lot of background in that at the time. Really, I took a quarterback we had to a Darren Slack quarterback academy camp years ago and was able to meet Coach Dub Maddox and kind of learn the R4. And that really helped me, understand how to build concepts, how to create progressions. And that was really a big, learning point for me. And then over the years, obviously just diving into as much information as I can, and having high school guys willing to help. Yourself being one, Coach Coverdale, who was on last week. I think for the last 10 years, if I email him for help, he sends me something right away. Just having those type of guys, then obviously watch as much college film as you can and pro film and learn how to adapt it to what you do to make it your own system and your own passing game.
Yeah, that's good. And so we'll go right into the ball talk because that's what people want to hear. And I think first of all, before we do though, that being able for high school guys to learn from other high school guys and college guys, I think is huge. Some guys only want to, if a college doesn't run it, they're going to say, it's no good. Oh, I've got to see, USC run this. I've got to see Alabama or Clemson, Georgia run this. But, you can learn from those high school guys too. And some of those guys in college now started out as high school guys for sure. So there can be varied influences for you guys listening out there that you can learn a lot of ball from. So one of the things, again, getting to the ball talk, one of the things that I think you've influenced me in over the years is one word calls. Now, we had run one word calls for years and years, and it's, the fastest way you can play, so to speak. You have one word that's going to tell people how to align by formation and what play to run and kind of assignment and everything. When I think most people think one word calls, they tend to think RPOs, because I think in a lot of coaches' minds, okay, I want to go fast, but what if they give me a bad look? Okay, we can RPO this and throw or whatever. But one of the things that I think you're known for is having one word drop back calls. And in talking to you about that, I think it's something that influenced me to try and have a little bit more of that in our system. But I want you to just kind of open-ended talk about one word drop back calls, kind of the philosophy behind it and why you believe in that, and just go as deep as you want to with it.
First, for us, to me, it's two things. One, I want to make life as easy as possible for the quarterback, and I want to have a safe place to go as a play caller. So 1st and 10, after and chief first down, 2nd and 5, and I'm on schedule. In my mind, it's a great place to have these one-word drop back concepts. As I got into Arizona, defense has gotten better and better. Drop back is really hard to protect. But if I do it fast, I think, hey, it's less chance that I'm getting exotic pressures, more chance they're lining up to me than worried about, bringing something that I can't handle. So that's kind of a big thought process for us. And then when I'm building these, one, we're going to take a core way we run a concept. If we run a play, and we like to obviously window dress everything, but if I have a play that if I run this play 10 times, 8 times, I'm going to run this exact formation, then that simply becomes a one-word play for us. So it's simple teaching. And then I can add a motion tag to that. And now I have the alert word, I have emotion, I have the concept, and now I get variety of what I'm doing, but for the kids, the exact same play. One thing we really try is to create hybrid concepts when I'm creating a one-word pass. That way, if they give me a layup, so if it's 2nd and 5 and I have a hitch built into the boundary, we'll throw the hitch and get a first down. If they take that away, it means probably no pressure came, they're bailing out. Then I'll have a read route, kind of associated with that, and I can get a full field progression built in. But the whole point of it is to get layups and just easy throws for your quarterback to really help him out. Additionally, it becomes a huge chunk of our 2-minute offense, these one-word plays, whereas in the most critical parts of the game, if I got to call pass plays, well, I can call these plays now. One, we can get too fast, and two, we repped more than anything we've done the whole season. We rep these things, nonstop. So it allows me to have a comfortable place to go late in the game.
Man, that is so good. It's really, really good. And I think, I don't know, it seems counterintuitive, and I'll ask you about your experience with your kids. I tend to want to have stuff, that tells people what to do, where there's no question and kids kind of know. And it's that, sort of a West Coast almost mindset of telling different people what to do. But I've really felt, especially, in the last few years, kids really memorize one word calls for whatever reason. And you think, well, there's a lot of memorization, but they really gravitate towards those. And a lot of times the kids like it. Do you feel like that's been really easy for your kids to pick up with the volume of one-word calls that you guys have?
I do. One, we're lucky. We have our kids a lot. We have them in class every day. So, we're going over these things an awful lot. But yes, I mean, kids, they just learn whatever you teach them, if I'm honest. So if we say, hey, this is going to be Navy Niner or whatever the call is going to be, they pick it up and they know it now. And then, again, it allows you to build on that because now I can throw motion tags and do whatever I want. So, yeah, that's really never been a problem for us. And it all revolves around your quarterback. He's got to be the one that gets everyone lined up correctly. So if your quarterback can handle it, to me, you can do as much as you want to do.
Taking a quick time out from this episode to talk about some of the resources that Coach Herring has put together. I've mentioned before, he's got excellent resources. I know he was a resource for me in the past. We collaborated on some things I learned from him. And Coach, what have you put together here on crossing routes?
Well, we got a relatively new 2-volume crossing route series. And in volume 1 of the crossing routes, it's complete crossing routes, low crossers. It's really looking at, honestly, about right at 12 to 13 years of crossing routes. And I thought we've done so much with crossing routes over the years. It's kind of my first love in the passing game. And we don't run them all, but from year to year, there's always tweaks. Well, let's just have a resource for guys to kind of see how to solve the problems that we've had, or maybe to tweak things that they already have that exist and make them better. And so it pretty much goes through. Volume 1 is really about drive variations. So you start with different versions of drive, and then there's some more unique types of routes that build off of that and build off that same language, from a route that's kind of, we call drum. That's kind of like a West Coast shallow type route. And then even drama, which is a form of a mesh built off of drive. So I think it's got some stuff that can help people out, and was really excited to put that one out.
Definitely. All your things do have those ideas that will apply to a lot of different offenses, and we'll put the link to that one in the description. Be sure to check that out. As coaches, we know that some of the biggest hurdles to our team's success can come from off the field. Your team needs support to tackle the endless list of expenses, uniforms, training equipment, travel, and more. But raising that money can feel like a full-time job. Thankfully, there's Vertical Raise. Vertical Raise is the premier online fundraising platform using innovative technology to create the easiest and most efficient system available. Raise more money in less time with a local fundraising coach who works with your team every step of the way to customize the ideal fundraiser. With options for online donations, digital discount cards, premium product sales, and even spirit shops, Vertical Raise has top-of-the-line solutions for every fundraising style. To find out more, visit verticalraise.com and we'll get you connected with an exclusive offer on your first fundraiser.
Let's go right into something that I've seen film of, and I know you guys are good at, and it's been a huge topic of discussion this offseason. Guys have even talked about it on the pod before. So you guys are very good at what a lot of people refer to as an RPO. Some people refer to it as a naked. We don't even have to get into that discussion, but where you're going to have some sort of post from an outside guy, some form of a wheel route, and some guy to the flat off either. If you want it to be RPO, it can be RPO. If you want it to be naked, it'd be naked. So you guys listening, that's a whole argument like zoning and split zone and duo about what these teams are doing. But a lot of really good teams, the Dolphins have a variation of it that Bobby Peters talked to us about with. I've studied a good bit of Texas this offseason, and Steve Sarkisian does a really good job with it. It's a huge thing. You guys are good at it at the high school level. So coach us up on that and kind of talk us through that play.
I remember seeing the Chiefs run it versus the Texans in that game. They were down years ago in the playoffs. I'm like, this play is really, really good. And I was just kind of scared to put it in for whatever reason. And this year we kind of said midway through the year, we want another wrinkle, and we run a lot of split zone action, and we put that in, and it quickly became our favorite play. Kids love that play. To me, it's what's good about it is obviously I need a post, a wheel, and a flat, but week to week I can change that presentation really simple. I think it really stresses a four-man front defense even more than an odd-man front, because of the fact in high school you're going to put that extra backer one place or the other, right? By formation, I can dictate that. So if I dictate where he is, and now once we get 3 weak in essence, you're going to be a guy short unless your whip backer plays that, in which he does that, then he's not giving any support to the run. So, it's became a really good play for us. We were to complete the post, the wheel, and the flat. I think we were 11 for 11 on passes out of that this year. We just put it in the last half of the year. and it became just a staple to what we do. Like you said, the biggest coaching point working through was, is it an RPO? Is it a run call? For us, it's a run call. We run wide zone with it, but it's a caveat. The lineman knows, hey, there's a word here that tells me I can't rush to get downfield because there's a good chance the ball's going to be thrown past the line of scrimmage. The Dolphins, where you showed me, right, it's a little bit different version, right? It's more of a seam post type of version.
Right.
So, we messed around with that this spring, and that's good, but different. One thing I learned for us, we talked about in high school, the games played on the hashes, and this is a boundary concept for us. But if we get the ball in the middle of the field, then it really opens up more. So last year, that became a situation where, hey, you don't need 15 middle of the field calls, you need 3 or 4. And that became a huge middle of the field call for us. We just give us a little bit more space to run it. But again, it's another easy answer for your quarterback where, hey, maybe he gets a wheel down the sideline that's wide open or easy flat throw, and it allows you to get in rhythm and get moving.
Talk just real quick about your wheel technique. Are you guys running a true wheel where it's almost like, an out and up type look, or are you running more of where you're faking a stalk and then you're running kind of a rail route? Like, which of the two techniques are you using?
For us, it's a true wheel. He's fast to the flat, like he's the flat player, and then he's going to be up, and hopefully, obviously if you carry that, then we're replacing you again with that flat route. And usually for us, we're going to motion that guy. So he's kind of, the Dolphins do a good job with that too, right? He's kind of already on the move. So you're kind of figuring out on the fly, trying to pass those things off. I think it's really hard because I have, in essence, a single side receiver there, but post snap, we're going to get 3 guys to that side. Again, the post for us last year, we just ran as a regular post, but he really wasn't in the concept much. And that's why we're looking at how the Dolphins run that seam post, now post, adding that. It kind of changed football for the quarterback a little bit because he has to be ultra fast. But our guys know now, hey, we're ready to throw right off of the pool. And if that's not there, then we just got to keep going and moving our feet and then get to the wheel and the flat.
Yeah, it's really good what you were talking about how, against even front, setting the front and how they have to make a decision because everybody's so sniffer set oriented now. And so you have that tight end that's strong to the field, and there has to be a defensive reaction to that. And like you said, you get 3 weeks so fast with motion. It's really, really hard to match that and still be solid against the run. That's why everybody loves it. It's such a good play. So that's great stuff. Another play, and people are going to be loving this episode because, we're just diving straight into coaching up these plays. It's not abstract. They're getting some real practical stuff, Coach. So that's good. So you run one of my favorite versions of mesh. We know all the mesh controversies. We've run it before and called it pyramid, and we called it mix and had different names. But for you guys that are listening, just to kind of give you an idea, it's really a form of mesh with a dagger concept built in. And it's just a really good way to run the play. And if you're one of these mesh haters and you don't like mesh because you say it's just a man play, well, this also, I think, is a version that makes it effective against zone, and you're using the mesh as a check down. So, Coach, I'm going to let you kind of coach us through it. Just talk to us about your mesh dagger concept. I guess starting out with kind of from the outside in, just working your way into the mesh concept, and then kind of finish up talking about the quarterback.
Yeah, so like you said, mesh can be progressed a lot of different ways, right? We run the mesh rail concept that everyone runs, and that's pure progression, left to right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is going to be more traditional kind of R4. Here's a rhythm, here's a read, here's a rush, top-down progression. For us, when we run this mesh dagger play, our outside receivers is their generic way of who's our meshers. So if we call that by rule, we know our outside guys are our meshers. Usually for us is going to be 3-by-1. We can run it 2-by-2, but usually it's 3-by-1. And then it leaves the 2 inside guys to be the seam and the dig. A lot of times we'll motion to it as well. And the seam usually is a clear out route. We have hit that twice for big plays if all of a sudden weak safety does not match 3. Where I originally saw this years ago was we went to the Iowa State 3 high stuff in 2019. So I didn't want to get my butt kicked in practice every day. So I was trying to find stuff that worked against them. And I saw both Lincoln Riley in Oklahoma run this play. And I saw Mike Leach in the bowl game run this play. I think he called it mesh snake. And just kind of said, hey, this is really good. And then kind of as we ran this play, when I first got into coaching 2007 in 3-by-1, I ran snag and flood and these plays that were really good. But now with everyone matching your flat player in trips, right? They either have a trap player or a void player. To me, these interior 3 high level stretches are really good concepts. And that's what this is for us. So we're usually going to have number 3 on the seam, number 2 on the read dig, and then again, number 1 in our single side guy or our mesh players. So usually if you take the seam, which is the goal, we want you to take the seam, those meshes pull those backers, and then that dig player can kind of sit, he can work. He has a lot of flexibility there depending on, if that backer low walls or high walls them.
What depth are you typically running the dig at?
Yeah, we're 12 to 14 on that. Depending on how we are, we'll have him spray release. There's a couple ways to do it. You can run it almost more like the pyramid version where he kind of gets right behind the seam player and tries to get lost. Or sometimes we'll have him spray release and try to get outside the stud and then wrap in behind. We kind of done it both ways a little bit, but 2 for us, that's kind of been our tight end type body. Get a 6'2", 6'3" kid there that you really can see, and then let that seam route be a really faster kid that has a chance to take the top off the defense. And then obviously if you carry those routes, then you leave a ton of space left for the mesh as our check down in that progression. So it's a play you can use anytime, but for us, it became a really good 3rd and long play because if you played man, we have an answer. If you're playing quarters, we're good. If you want to play some type of match and carry 3, we're okay there too. So it's become a really good concept that our kids love and know that we're going to go there on critical spots.
Are your mesh guys, do you allow them to settle, or is this a play where you're going to have those guys stay on the run?
No, we'll allow them to settle, but usually the mesh rail play, they settle a lot more the space than this play. I think where it carries people deeper because you're running 2 inside vertical routes, that for us usually, they're continue to run through.
Yeah, that's good. I think the only thing kind of troubleshooting it for you guys listening would be, it's really critical that seam guy get a release so that the thing can clear, and so motioning that guy or, changing up your alignments. But the fact that you're bunched a little bit a lot of times, I think that just helps get clean releases, obviously. But also a lot of times if you change, and Coach, I know you and I have talked about this, but for a defense, changing who's on and who's off in bunch can really impact them differently. And if you have number 3 on in bunch, a lot of times that guy won't get pressed like number 2 being the point man in bunch would get pressed. So a lot of times for us, you could get clean releases on that. So, man, that's a good play. I know I've seen Lincoln Riley have a lot of success with that. So got a couple more things before we get out of here. You are in empty quite a bit. And I'm think like we're in the 7-on-7 phase right now of summer practice. And so you go to 7-on-7s and teams are in empty all the time and doing defensive stuff that they don't do all the time. But you guys are in empty, in pads, in games, in high leverage critical situations. So talk a little bit about passing wise from empty, kind of why you've moved to more of that, or maybe it's been something you've always done, but you've kind of been in empty a little bit more. Just kind of talk us through your thoughts on empty and in real football, not 7-on-7.
Sure. I think empty begins in with your quarterback a little bit. I'm very lucky. Our kid's a really good player. He's really quick thinker, and he's got a quick release. To me, if you have a guy that it takes a while to get out or doesn't process as well, is maybe not as productive. In a perfect world, we have these progressions that are, again, rhythm, read, rush, and you have not many if-then situations. Empty, you're going to have a lot of if-then situations because you might not know what their check is. Are they a pressure team? Are they going to, sit back and empty? How are they going to handle the 3 side compared to the 2 side? It's a lot of variables. So to me, you have to have a kid that can navigate that on the fly a little bit. And then I want to be unique and empty as well, right? We get in a lot of 2x3 or 4x1 or 1x4. There's a lot of ways to get into empty. And then also, I think going back to our one-word plays, you got to have these hybrid concepts where you have quick now answers, but also you have a longer developing progression as well. And that's why it's important to have a kid that understands that, because if I get pressure, I got to have a way to get rid of that ball now. But if not, if you let me go through a actual downfield progression, then great. I'm getting 5 out immediately, and it's going to be harder for you to stop. So I think it's really important, again, to have the right kid there, but also motion into empty I find to be really effective. If I'm going to motion the back outside of number 1 to the single side and trips, it kind of goes back to what, I think Coach Coverdale said the other day with these informational gathering things, right? Where, hey, how do you handle that? Or one thing, we were at University of Washington this year. They did a great job of getting in formations and motioning guys to freeze the formation, but then to move to something else. Where if I fast motion the back out wide, I'm going to show how you're going to play that. But in reality, maybe I only want it to be in 3-by-2 from the start. It's a good way to gather information, I think, by using motion, and then also create the free releases like you talked about before.
That's great advice, I think, for anybody that's wanting to use empty sets and having a process for thinking about the things that way. Don't just, jump in empty to jump in empty. Is there a reason why you're doing it? And I think that's what you do such a good job of. And so those are really, really good points. Kind of our last thing, let's talk about, I think I'm huge on this. I ask most guests this question, and you guys know, I mean, we talk, but your off-season research method, I think, is awesome. I think about like just how the varied sources you go to and how big a deal you make it in trying to improve things and give your kids the best chance to compete. So kind of talk to us about your off-season research method and kind of how you try and adapt. You're already in a really good program, but every year you're trying to take it to the next level. So what's your process for doing that?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously identifying who you want to study and why is pretty important up front, right? And the easiest thing is to see a team that's been really successful, right? So this year, Tennessee was really good, and we talked a lot of Tennessee, and then Ole Miss 2 years ago, I think I was really big on. But two other things I really try, and you're really good at having one big focus. I'm kind of scatterbrained sometimes and all over the place with it, but I want a team that has a similar quarterback to us a little bit, and then I want a team that maybe does something unique that we kind of do, but it enhances what we do. So, we're pretty big in the quarterback run game. And last year, like Montana State did some really cool things in quarterback-driven RPOs. So we, try to get some things from them that were easy to install for us. We're a big unbalanced team. And last year, you did that big study on Pitt when Kenny Pickett was there, and they're unbalanced passing. Yeah. So that made sense for me. I'm like, man, we use unbalanced. This is something we can add to our offense. Let me really study this. Right. So, I mean, I think it's a twofold. It's, again, people that you see are really good, but then what is something that you can add to your offense that's unique, that's not a lot of investment because you kind of already do these things anyway, just taking it to the next level.
Coach, I wish I had this. I wish I could have listened to you on this pod when I was 25 years old as a coordinator, for sure. That's awesome advice about figuring out. It's just so easy to look at what's cool on Twitter and want to do that. And, I'm not in any way taken away from that, because I do it too. We all want to look at cool plays on Twitter, but how does it impact your program and how does it fit into the stuff that you do? That's what we as coaches have to figure out. What gives our kids the best chance of being successful? That's so good. So we got to wrap up. You're a busy head coach. We got to give you some time. So we got to get this thing wrapped up, but what we got to finish with. So always very interested to find out, what do you wear on your head, if anything, during a game? What's your go-to?
Well, in around 2007 and 2008, I was a big Gus Malzahn guy. So I started with the visor, and then I lost my hair. So at that point in time, I had to switch to the hat. So I'm a hat guy on a Friday night. Good deal.
I've kind of had a similar journey in some ways. So what about drink? I have been fascinated. I was told by multiple people, we started this pod, that we were going to ask these OCs, and they all were going to, they drink energy drinks and blah, blah, blah. What I have found through all sorts of evidence is that offensive coordinators are a lot healthier guys than defensive coordinators, no doubt about it. So we've got guys that drink water. We've had guys that drink, these health drinks and all kinds of stuff, potions and powders and everything else. What's your pregame or maybe during a game drink that's your go-to?
Yeah, I think I've been coaching 17 years, and I still get those nervous butterflies before every game, right, which makes it awesome. So I try not to put much in the stomach. So I don't eat anything past around noontime, and I only drink water before the game.
Good for you. Again, guys, we're setting positive examples on the Passing Lab of how to take care of your body and your mind. So that's good stuff. Coach, this has been amazing. I've got a page of notes right here already. So I really appreciate you being on, and I know people are going to get a lot out of it. You're awesome, and that's really good stuff, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on, Coach. It's a pleasure to listen to it each week that you're putting on, and I think myself and a lot of high school coaches are benefiting from this. So thanks so much.
Thanks to Coach Thomas, and we'll see you guys next week on the Passing Lab.
Here are Winning Edge takeaways and ideas for implementation. And this one is full of some great ones. Again, Josh, you have that task every week of really boiling these down to some that every coach can use regardless of the type of offense they run. So what do you have for us today?
Yeah, the first one, I love how Colin talked about something, and it's something that I can honestly say has helped our programs in the past. And talking to him about this is having one-word drop back calls. And there's that whole section he talks, but the part that stuck out to me about that is, fast calls, that we often don't think about it this way, but fast calls are a lot easier to protect because it's just harder to get into all the exotic pressure looks that defenses get into. And so I thought that's just a great tip for coaches about, if you're having trouble protecting, sometimes the answer, if you can't chip a guy or you just don't have anybody better, maybe it's just go a little bit faster on a drop back. So I thought that was a really good point. Second thing is, I liked how he talked about empty concepts and the need in empty to really have hybrid concepts. I thought that's a really great way of thinking about it, where you don't always know what kind of empty check you're going to get. And so you have whatever drop back or quick game concept, but you also have gifts built in where it might be a fast screen or something to get a guy a touch. But having those hybrid concepts where you're giving quarterbacks answers regardless of what they see. So if they just give you a gift, then you can take that. I thought that was really sharp. And then the third thing, getting into the research aspect, I said before, Colin does a great job of research, but narrowing it down to saying, okay, does this program I'm going to study, why am I studying them? Do they have a quarterback that's similar to me? And I think it's very easy for us to get caught up in, very fancy X's and O's, but does it really apply to our program? So he talked about having a similar quarterback, and do they have unique variations of things you already do, and looking for that in research. And I just think being able to narrow things down for a high school coach to say, all right, I want to look at NFL and college teams, but is their quarterback situation relative to my situation? Obviously, that guy may be better, but is it relative to competition? And then are they doing things you're already doing maybe in a unique way? I think it's just great stuff.
Definitely really good takeaways there too. I know those three resonated with me as well, and it was a great episode. A short one, but a lot packed into it. And I'm excited as we continue on here this summer with the Passing Lab, and I certainly appreciate all your work.
Yeah, thanks, Keith.
Be sure you check out Josh Herring's resources on the passing game. They are some of the best out there. I'll put a link to those. They're on CoachTube. You can find the link in the show notes. Follow all we're doing at coachingcoordinator.com. Go there for enhanced show notes. We have our winning edge takeaways detailed in text and more. Again, go to coachingcoordinator.com and follow me on Twitter at Coach K. Grabowski.